Hey, this is Matt with Let's Talk Music. I am here with Steve of Intrepid Bloom. How are we doing this evening, sir?
Hey, I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. So you guys hail from Philadelphia, correct?
That's correct.
All right. Now, is Intrepid Bloom? I didn't get to read your press release much. Is it just you, or do you actually have a band behind you?
It is just me as of right now. I do the guitar, bass, vocals, the keys, and then I hire out the drums.
Okay. And I've seen that you're part of is that
Yeah, yeah,
Worm
work
Group?
group.
Okay, record label, and you did your mixing and mastering with Ulrich Wild.
Yeah, Ulrich Wild, well-known producer, engineer. He did a lot of the White Zombie stuff, a lot of the Deftones stuff. He was on Reinventing the Steel, the Pantera album. His discography is just amazing. So if you have a chance, definitely check it out, and you'll take you down memory lane. You'll be like, "Holy crap, I remember that album." He's got a lot of those. Yeah.
I knew I had heard his name before. I was kind of trying to pinpoint it, and you just did that because I used to, when I was younger, man, I'd open up the cassette tapes or whatever and read like who produced it, who did this, who
Sure.
did that. It was always just interesting to me.
Yeah, same here. I grew up in an era where I was looking at like CDs and tape booklets and just to open them up and read the lyrics and see the producers, the engineers, the thank yous, and all stuff like that. So, yeah, he was a part of some of my favorite albums when I was growing up, like Super Sexy Swingin' Sounds, the White Zombie like remix album. He did that. Um, and yeah, that's just an awesome, awesome album.
So let's talk about your new single, Missing Link. It's also self-titled from your new EP.
Yeah.
So the video, man, it's a visualizer, and it is, I mean, let's just go back to those days again. And if you know was to throw a little something on your tongue there, um, you might flip out.
Yeah, yeah, it's one of those type of vibes. It's tripped out, whatever you want to call it, psychedelic, whatever. But it just kind of fit the visualizer video. I wanted something that was that way. The song's kind of that way in a way. It's a little bit different of a rock song. It's kind of like the melody is bass, and then there's kind of like guitar in the background, and Dave, the drummer, he's doing like, there's like weird tapping things, probably using some brushes in one hand and a snare in another to get that kind of sound that he does there. But it was just a different song, and I'm about experimenting, trying different things. I like a mix of heavy. I like a little bit of like relaxed in there too, like tripped out psychedelic stuff. So yeah, that was that style song there.
So is there any kind of meaning behind Missing Link, or is it just something that you came up with?
No, there's meaning in all of my songs. I'm purposeful with all of my lyrics. It takes me a long time to write lyrics. Music comes much faster to me. It's easier for me to sit down and write a bunch of guitar riffs and string them together than it is to come up with a topic and lyrics, because I don't really like cliche all too much. So and there's a couple cliches in a few songs, I think it's kind of unavoidable. It just kind of happens with the process. But that song is kind of about like, it takes me back to when I was real young, but it's kind of about just like connecting with the world, the universe, um, just kind of like a relaxful state of mind where you're able to open your subconscious to a higher level, whether universe, being, whatever.
Right.
But it's yeah, kind of in that feel, that kind of idea.
Well, man, in this world today, we need more of that.
Yeah.
I mean, you need it's so just everything's so stressful, and so it's so fast and everything, and anymore it's like that type of music is just you know what people need. I think you kind of just kick back, relax, drink you a beer, smoke you a doobie, whatever you do, or just kind of meditate, whatever. I mean, it's what we used to do when we was in high school. I mean, of course, it was a lot of different music back then. You know, you had the hair metal and heavy metal and everything else. It just, but yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed the video. I was just like I said, I was sitting there, I was like, man, that is just crazy. Did you do that yourself or did you sub that out?
No, I that was done by a company. I hired them to do the video for Missing Link, and then also Dark Horse, which is another video that they did. I just wanted, because I can do some of that stuff, but I don't have a, I don't specialize in that. Like I can throw together, a little video or whatever, and I do my lyric videos and stuff like that, but I wanted to have a couple like more professional looking videos to go with the album. So we were going to do Black or Dark Horse and Black Cats, but then we ran into a time crunch with Black Cats. So I was like, ah, screw it. Let's shift that over to Missing Link because that's part of the last release. And it was a kind of a spaced out song, and I like that sort of thing. Like I grew up in probably a similar era with you, with all like all the different kinds of heavy metal, hard rock, glam, hardcore, thrash metal, death metal, like all that stuff. And I always really liked songs. I always liked albums that had like that one song that had like something kind of like chill or unique about it. Like,
Hmm.
you go to, I don't know, like Ride the Lightning or something, and you listen to Call of Cthulhu, and like at the very end, there's that chill, like awesome song, which is it fits with the other stuff like Ride the Lightning and Trapped Under Ice and stuff like that, but it's different. And I always liked that idea. So with this album and with a lot of the stuff that I do, I always try to make room for at least one of those. This album was a little bit lighter than my last one, um, which is okay. But I think moving forward, I have a lot of up tempo stuff, and they'll be a little more dominant in that way.
Okay. No, something cool about that. The Call to Cthulhu was actually based off of an Edgar Allan Poe novel. Do you know that?
I did not know that. And I
Yes.
got this book right over here because I do like him, but I haven't read all of his stuff. I was in Baltimore a couple years ago checking out his birthplace and his memorial and stuff. But yeah, and that's interesting because Ernest Hemingway is a great writer, and they have For Whom the Bells Toll, which I
Mhm.
assume was off of one of those albums too. I'm not like a huge reader, but I do like to read like some weird stuff from time to time. Um, just because I think it's like mentally stimulating and kind of just like opens your thought up a little bit, and I
Right.
enjoy that.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess when I first heard about that, is like how it's kind of like slow tempo, then it gets faster and then slow, and
Mhm.
so the faster parts are like the more captivating parts of the book. The more what's the word I'm looking for? Like the extreme moments where it gets uh things get a little crazy. So yeah, I mean, and that's what again goes back to my reading the jackets out of a cassette tape, or just I've always retained information like that for some reason. It's like
Mhm.
I couldn't tell you what I did a week ago, but I can tell you what Metallica did in 1986.
Yeah, yeah, it's weird. I know. It's like kind of I still remember going back through some of my old CDs. Like I can picture the cover art of like Appetite for Destruction and just like the inside cover art. Like not the cross with the skulls on it, but the
Right.
inside cover art, which is a little more even like weirder. It's like pretty weird stuff, but I think when I was a kid I didn't understand it, and that was probably a good thing, but you know, but I always enjoyed that, and that's even something that I remember to this day is that artwork. So yeah, I hear you.
So speaking of artwork, the artwork for your new single and album, at least what I'm seeing on the press releases, is pretty awesome. I
Yeah.
mean, you put that in a poster, man, that's gonna be an awesome blacklight poster.
Yeah, and that was part of the idea with everything. I think everything came out the way that I really wanted it to. I found this great artist. She goes by the name Ellipsis Q. And she did another album cover with another band that I'm in called Trisonic Soma, and that one's like really cool as well. But with Missing Link, I wanted something that is like thought provoking, something that's interesting. I wanted something that catches your eye. So if you're, you're scrolling through music or on an app or whatever, hey, maybe someone might stop for a second or two and check out the artwork, and maybe they'll check out the music too. Um, and yeah, it does have that like 90s black light vibe. You're not the first to actually say that to me. And I'm curious what happens if I do put it under a black light. Like I might really be impressed by that. But yeah, she did an awesome job. I was actually talking with her today because we're planning on doing some more music here in in the near future. So hopefully by the end of the year there'll be one more small release of a couple songs, and then 2024 I'm hoping to release another full length like Missing Link.
Okay. Um, what about any plans of playing gigs?
That's something I'm considering. I get asked that all the time. I don't have a band that I play with for this purpose, but I'm open to it. If I meet, other musicians that want to do this, I'm down. I'm easy to work with. I'm in southeastern Pennsylvania, so I'm open to it. I have a few friends of mine that are professionals, and I'm always open to run it by them and see what they say. And I think it has to be worthwhile though. Like it's got to be like a couple cool gigs lined up. Like I don't want to just like get out there and just start playing the bar scene. Unless if I had like the right place to go and like a right lineup, like opening for, it's just a good bill would be great. But my focus has always been on like writing, recording music. I've been in a lot of bands, and a lot of times things just don't work out for whatever reason. So I kind of took this on myself to like, okay, I'm gonna finish this project. And one album turned into two albums, and now it's turning into more albums. So I'm starting to get a nice catalog of music, and I was actually thinking about sitting down with a piece of paper here and writing out what a set list might look like if I did have a couple people to play with. So starting to think about that a little bit more.
That's cool. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you're in a good place right now that you're happier doing your thing versus because you was talking about being with other bands and for some reason it didn't work out. So,
Mhm.
now there's really just working it out with yourself.
Yeah, and I love that. The one of the great things is I don't ever have to like, worry about other people's time. It's all on my time, and I don't have to, sit down, figure things out with other musicians, butt heads on anything silly. There's none of that. So I just, go up to my space here. I work on music. I work on a lot of different songs, whatever's kind of working better or moving closer to the finish line. I'll work on that, and then the project takes form. So I have a few songs now that is in that area where I'm, working on them, working on different demos, trying some new ideas. And I think at the same time, it would be great to work with a few people. But my my main goal, my main drive is to just keep creating.
Yeah. And I mean, like you said, to work with a few people, even then, even if you just did like a collaboration with somebody,
Yeah.
um, either lyrically or bring them in playing guitar or whatnot. I mean, I've seen several bands that I've talked to do that. Well, not really even just bands with, but like musicians like yourself that
Sure.
do everything. They wear all the hats and oh well, I brought this guy in. It vibed really well and it comes out great and you guys work together in the future maybe or whatever. But yeah, I think that doing the one man thing is great, but then when it comes to having getting out there to play shows, that's when it makes it tough because a lot of guys are like, yeah, well, I've got musicians that I work with, but we got to all have the same schedule, and with life happening, it's kind of tough anymore.
Yeah, it is. And I would like to find a few people's, and I'm open to jamming with people. I'm open to writing with people because obviously I do so much on my own. Like it's easy for me to, if there was another guitar player, another singer, or a drummer that was just like, hey man, like let's collaborate on a song, and and they can take care of their end of things. They can take care of their recording. I can take care of my recording. We can find a, producer to do the mixing and mastering. That's something I don't do. Can't wear too many hats, especially on important things like that. I'm not skilled at that. I'm better at just doing my thing. But yeah, I would love to be able to work with some people, and either have, a couple people that I work with for live shows, or even people that I write with. I'm not opposed to any of that. So it all sounds good to me.
So let's circle back to the where you said playing music comes easy to you, but the lyrics is much tougher. What is involved in your music writing process, your lyrical process?
A lot of times I'm looking for a theme. Um, Other times it's weird. Like you can just get like a little short, like you hear a little sound or something in your head, like a little hum of a melody. So a lot of times I write out all my music first, and I have like the whole song pretty much written, tracked. And I'm sitting there and I try to figure out what would maybe be like a good top line melody for the lyrics, and then I fill it in from there, and I think about different themes, and I try to be unique. I try to be purposeful with things I write about. Um, so I got to come up with, I try to come up with different ideas, and every song on Missing Link is a little bit different. They're all kind of about different things. I don't know if you checked out Black Cats yet or not, but that one's getting a lot of plays right now. And that one was, I was just trying to come up with like a really badass guitar riff that was catchy. And I used to take a lot of walks in my neighborhood at night because I get inspired for some stupid reason walking around at dusk when their sun's starting to set. And there used to be a lot of feral cats in my neighborhood, and they would like just like run across, the street or whatever. And I was listening to the song, and I was just trying to think of lyrics, and I was thinking, black cats, and it just kind of snowballed from there. So um, I never know when inspiration's going to come. Sometimes lyrics come quickly. Like Above the Storm, the lyrics came real quickly. Missing Link was pretty fast too. And then a song like No Turning Back took me years to come up with lyrics for it. And I tried like dozens of ideas, dozens of different melodies. I even considered writing it about like, a football game or like a team thing. And I just didn't really feel right for me. So I think ultimately I got what I was hoping for out of that song. So you never know when inspiration's going to want to strike. So I think when it does, you just got to write it down, type it in your phone, hum it in an app, whatever, just to get that feeling out, whatever that moment is, to kind of document it.
I've heard that from other lyricists that, carrying a little notepad or, again, using the phone. So yeah, I mean, and it's it's kind of like a blessing and a curse with technology today,
True.
but if you think about it, back in the day, let's just go back to like the 50s and 60s, when these musicians were thinking of lyrics, they're writing it down and crumbling it up and throwing it and starting all over again and stuff. And
Yeah.
now you can leave part of that in and get rid of the rest of it and think, okay, let me think of something, even if it takes days, weeks, or whatever,
Yeah.
but back then it was it was a lot harder. So I mean, I feel like the curse part of it is streaming. I mean, I like streaming, but I prefer um, vinyl or cassette tape, something tangible, and
Sure. Sure.
I think that's something that is lacking in the music world. Like my wife had bought me a record player and I went to plug it in and for some reason it didn't work.
Hmm.
So she got the protection plan. I got with Walmart literally yesterday, set this up and the new one came today. The new one is an old vintage wooden one. I paid like 30 more bucks for it. And it's
Yeah.
got a old style dial. It's got a built-in radio and everything. It's
I
just,
like the same thing over here, I think. I know
yeah,
what you're talking about. Yeah.
it's
Yep.
just sweet, man. And I'm like, oh my God, I love it. And I love the one that she got me, but I don't know what happened to it, man. I mean, it never got dropped or anything. I tried pulling it open and see if I could see anything that looked bad. And no, I'm not an electronics expert. So
Yeah, no, we've definitely seen a lot of changes in music in our lifetimes. And for better or for worse, you just gotta stay up with it. It's great that, you can still I still have my record collection. I still go to, I'll stop in at a thrift store or an antique store and always check out the vinyl selection there. I mean, and I'll end up leaving with like some like really awesome ZZ Top, or like a Michael Jackson or something. Just something like wild, just to have a nice in your collection. I dig it. I still stream music all the time too. From time to time I do buy or download. Like for me, like if I listen to an artist so many times and I love their music so much, I feel like I kind of should. And
Right.
so I mean, I've mentioned Appetite for Destruction, so I'll mention it again. I've bought that album like probably 5 times in my life at least, with like tapes and CDs, and then like it gets destroyed and like get so many scratches on it and just do it again. But that's one that's special to me, so I like to have it. You know.
Hmm. So what about you? I mean, do you plan on doing anything, pressing any vinyl or doing any CDs?
If there is a demand for it, I'm happy to do it. The label would back me up on that. If there is, a reason to do it, I'm sure they would be okay with it. Um, like a small run or something like that. It's just kind of new in the release process, so we're still kind of like seeing the results of things, but it's getting plays, especially on Spotify. It's getting plays. I heard a few people that they actually downloaded it. I see comments and stuff online sometimes, and those are very encouraging. So I just hope that I can get this music in front of more people, people that love um like music like from heavy metal from the 80s and 90s and early 2000s. They might like this too. It's kind of in that same vein. I mean, if you like Anthrax and Megadeth and Pantera and Metallica, maybe you'll dig this too.
Right.
It's a similar genre to that. There's not there's a lot of new artists, but there is a lot of new sounds coming in, like with music now too. Like rock music definitely sounds a little bit different now than it used to,
Hmm.
and there's nothing wrong with that. But at the same time, like I like a specific sound and I don't hear it as much as I used to. If I want to hear it, then I got to put on like an album from like 20 years ago. But I like thrash guitar. I
Right.
like, heavy metal drums and things like that. So, yeah, as long as I can keep writing and putting out music like that, bless you.
Thank you.
I'm happy with it.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that artwork work would look killer on a vinyl. On
Yeah, it would. You probably can't see it. There's a little picture there, and
yeah,
that's the album. So I'm now gonna, I've been asked about t-shirts. I think it would be awesome on a t-shirt too. So I guess there's ways of, putting the artwork out there and having it ready. So if somebody does want it, you just, print it up and, send it out. So I'm open to that. A lot of this is new to me. So I'm still on the learning curve in some ways,
right.
but I'm open to whatever's out there. If people are enjoying it, then that makes me feel wonderful.
That that's what it's all about, man.
Yeah, it is. It's about just like I make music for myself as a connection, as an outlet. If people can enjoy it, that's the best part.
Right. So it just this is your sophomore album. Is this the first, or with this album, is this the first time you worked with the label, or did you do that on your original or your first album?
Yeah. So this is the first time working with a label. The first album on Earth, I recorded at home, and I've been learning a lot. So I'm improving, and I think my next album is gonna, be even better. But I was looking for someone to master on Earth, and I was, just like emailing different producers and just seeing if anyone would even give me a shot. And I got some emails back from some people, and their price was out of my budget, out of my ballpark.
Hmm.
And Ulrich was very gracious and said, I work with indie bands from time to time if I like the music. And we talked about things, and it ended up working for me. It worked for him, so he mastered on Earth for me. And then I had a bunch. I was still writing. I was in a time in my life where I was writing a lot of music, And I told him, I was like, hey, I actually have another album coming out. Would you check out some demos and let me know what you think? And he just ended up like, yeah, man, I'll mix it. And we just kind of just kept that ball rolling, and ended up being able to release it on the WURMgroup label, which is like a dream come true for me to be able to work with him. Especially growing up, listening to the music I did, and reading the liner notes, and kind of like recognizing him and loving his work. So yeah, that was a really great experience. It's more than I could have asked for.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
So just one more question. This was released on March 10th, the newest song. When do you have material that you're going to lay out for, say, a month or so away from now, another single?
I don't. So, unfortunately, I don't have anything in the chamber, so to speak. I have half dozen to a dozen songs that I'm working on that I'm trying to get to that point. Typically what I do, and I might change this, but in the past I always kind of tried to finish maybe like 5 to 10 songs and have those 5, 10 songs done, and then release them one at a time. Is kind of That's the approach we did with Missing Link, and it was a good approach. It worked for us. I think if I released everything all at once, it's going to be great for a couple of weeks and then it drops off. But by releasing it one at a time, I was able to kind of like build a little bit of momentum, a little bit of traction, hopefully get some people listening to multiple songs. And that worked very well. So I'm not opposed to releasing one-offs, but I like to have a few things lined up and ready to go before I put them out there. So I do have a target in mind for this fall. I have a simple project that I'm hoping to finalize, and it's a simple project, so it'll be shorter in length, probably be like 2 to 4 songs. Um, but if I can get Missing Link released this year technically, and then another one, I'll be happy with that.
Okay, cool. All right, Steve. Well, I appreciate your time and all the insight into Intrepid Bloom. And actually, just one more. How did you come up with that name?
Oh, so I'm terrible at naming things. I'm terrible at coming up with song names. I'm terrible at I'm even worse at coming up with band names. Like I could sit there for years, and I probably did in this case for years, and I had different things in mind. And it's tricky now trying to name a band in 2023 because so many great names have been taken. So many people are doing the this, or like the tires, the guitars, whatever, the curtains. And there's so many people doing that. And it's like, okay, I didn't want to do that. I need to come up with something that's not done. I need to come up with something that's unique. I probably had a spreadsheet of like 1,000 words and different combinations of things. And Intrepid Bloom sounded like it had some meaning to it. And it does, because it's like you can look at it a few ways, but it's like, it's like that rose that grows through concrete, or that little kid that stands up to, the bully, or, finally, or like, just something that occurs out of something great that occurs out of a bad situation. Like that stuff happens all the time. It
Right.
happens to all of us. So, you know uh doing the music, it's hard to do it kind of on your own. It's a lot of work, so you have to be committed to it. You really got to do it. You really got to have either not give a crap what anyone thinks or says to you along the way, and you just got to go do it. So you got to, and rejection is always there, right? I mean,
Oh,
people
yeah.
are always going to tell you no 100 times before you hear a yes, and that's part of life. And I don't think you can let that scare you. I don't think you can let any negativity hold you back. You gotta, if you love it, you gotta do it.
Trust me, dude. I know. I've emailed plenty of publicists, and nope, they're not doing interviews or whatever. And
Yep,
okay, thanks for your time. I'm not gonna
sure.
get an attitude about it or anything, because I mean there's been several that I've emailed, and oh yeah, yeah, we'll set it up. So, and the list of publicists and record companies that I've been working with is growing, not, I wouldn't say daily, but at least monthly. And
Hmm.
it's this has just been. a hobby for me. It's been a lot of fun. It's been very eye opening to different types of music because we go back to what I said earlier. I was into the 80s, 90s metal and stuff like that. So it's nice to hear different types of music that I would probably never hear otherwise. You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure.
Because I mean, I'm doing a lot of interviews over in Europe, and I know stuff over there that I'm hearing I wouldn't hear. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's been.
There's a ton of great music out there. So, I mean, doing what you're doing, you're getting to hear so much of it before people know about it. And
Mhm.
you probably know more about, I'm sure you know more about bands than I do at this point because you're in it. You're listening to new stuff all the time. And I have an eager ear. So I listen to new music all the time. I go on my, Spotify or YouTube and I try to listen for new artists weekly, all the time because I pull inspiration from that stuff. Like, wow, that's really cool. Like, the way that they decided to do that. And yeah, so I think that's great. But yeah, rejection's always going to be there. You're always going to get that. And I think after you get enough of that, you realize like, screw them. I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to do what I love. And, that's it.
I hear you, brother. Well, again, man, appreciate your time.
Dude, thank you.
Best of luck with Intrepid Bloom, and maybe later on, and when you say in the fall, when you're gonna do some other things, we can connect again and see how things have been going.
Yeah, I would love to do that. Thank you so much. I appreciate you taking the time.
No problem, man. You have a good evening.
Thanks, you too.
All
See you
right.
later.
Bye.